Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. Today, Eitan and I are exploring when things fall apart. And because of the unique energy of this week and a particular window in time that's opening up on Monday night and Tuesday, we have exclusive access to a perspective shift that exists only in this week. And it's about transforming the way that we perceive darkness, failure, rejection, when things seem to be falling apart, how to understand and connect with the divine and bigger picture behind what seems to be crumbling, dissolving, or falling apart. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we provide our listeners with the most practical and powerful tools to navigate the coming 7 days through the wisdom and tools of Kabbalah. And so every episode ends up offering up wisdom and tools that can not only be used this week, but any week of the year, any year of your life. And because of that combination, specifically the infusion of Purim, which is a cosmic window that opens up this Monday night. And even if you listen to this episode Thursday, because the energy of the week is also the other days of the week support the manifestation of that energy right up until Saturday night when the weekly energy shifts. The infusion of light we get from Purim, which is also on Wednesday, we have the full moon of the month of Pisces, which is the peak of that energy. There is a real gift that's asking to be unlocked by all of us this week in not allowing the illusion of the physical reality and our fears and our worries and our anxieties to cloud our true perspective. So, Eitan, where should we begin?
Let's start with Purim. The holiday of Purim, one of my most favorite holidays, cosmic opening. So, I think let's start with sharing the Kabbalistic perspective of what really Purim about. What is the opportunity? What is the opportunity? Traditionally, Purim is about celebrating the miracles that happened about 2,500 years ago, which the Israelites that lived in diaspora under the rulership of Persia, the Persian Empire, during the Babylonian exile, were in dangers of massacre, elimination, major Holocaust. And then the bad guy, Haman, himself, that came up with this suggestion and the idea and the decree, was hanged by himself, and a major miracle happened and nothing happened. And later on, a few years later, or a little short while later, the second temple was built in Jerusalem. But we know Kabbalistically, Purim is, or any holiday, it's not really something that happening or happened in the past. It is actually something that happening, cosmic energy, window in time, that happening every year. And the question we want to ask is, what is the energy that available Monday night, Tuesday, and even Wednesday? What is the energy? What is the cosmic energy? So, while Purim is connected to happiness, to joy, to giving, to unity, but what is the portal? What's available? What is different? Number one, it says that the only holiday that will remain after reaching what we call Mashiach, which is peace on earth, out of all the holidays, Purim, because it's the only holiday that represent us, people, revealing our true essence in this physical world. So that's first question we need to ask yourself. Second, it says that during Purim, it's good for a person to access that dimension called Ad de lo Yada. Ad de lo Yada means to access this dimension that you don't know to differentiate between good and bad. Who is the good people? Who are the bad people? Think about it. All day long, we look at ourselves, we look at others, we look at situations, we look at behaviors, and it's under the box. It's good, it's bad. I'm good, I bad. I'm like myself, I don't like myself. This feel comfortable and beautiful, this feel bad. This is evil, this is pure, this is righteous, this is wicked. All day long, that's how we see life through. And it says in Purim, we can all access a dimension which is beyond the good and bad, a dimension that we look at everything as extension of the light and as a blessing. And we don't believe it, we actually access it. So let's first speak about that, Elisheva. What does it mean practically? Because in Purim, there's the gift of elevating to that space that everything is good and good and not good and bad. Good and better. So, what does it mean practically? What does it mean for you practically? Accessing this dimension. Because the dimension that we see, it's the dimension of form, of manifestation. Sweet, bitter, good, bad, pain, pleasure. That's part of this reality. But there's the dimension that exists deep inside within us that everything, it's actually, even the thing that appear in bad, it's a blessing. In that dimension, I feel it as a blessing. I feel it as light. So what does it mean practically, tapping to that dimension?
Well, the Kabbalists share a concept that, right, everything, all the fruit and all of the future seeds that a tree will bear are included in that original seed. And I always go to nature when I'm trying to think of ways to illustrate spiritual concepts, because the natural world is a beautiful mirror of these spiritual laws. And especially with what's happening, let's say now on the East Coast in the dead of winter, you can look at a tree and it looks dead. So if you didn't know that in the winter trees lose their leaves, lose their fruit, are colorless, barren, even look dry and lifeless, but that's a part of the restorative cycle of the plant kingdom. Let's say the annual cycle is hibernation in a way, and then germination. There's a whole procedure that the natural world goes through over the seasons. But if you came from another planet and you looked at trees in the winter, you'd think death. They even look burned, some of them, not realizing that it's part of the growth process. And in every one of our lives, we go through those dormant periods, those periods of cold, of darkness, and we don't realize, and this is to me one of the big opportunities that what I look forward to in that window of Purim is that I get to boost my own consciousness. Even it's not a logical, I think it's important to also emphasize, it's not that you feel click, 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 your consciousness is elevated, but we download the energy so that the next time my reality presents a barren tree, a broken opportunity, a rejection, a failure, I made a mistake, I hurt someone or someone hurt me, that I can understand that the hurt or the lack that I experience in that moment is meant to be part of that growth cycle that each one of us goes through. And the energy that I draw in Purim is waiting for me in those moments throughout the year when I can look at something and say, this feels like death. This feels like failure. This feels like pain and something is breaking down, when in fact, it's a phase in the growth process. And in that moment, when I see the tree without fruit, I'll be able to say, This is also good. There's not only there's lightness, this is I know because I'm seeing this right now, greatness is coming. A miracle is coming. That the time in my life that I spend being sad, being worried, feeling terrible shrinks. Not necessarily little by little. That's the goal of Purim, is that the next time I'll experience something that objectively you could say that's bad, I will be able to connect to that original seed, which is full of fruit, which is full of light, which is full of blessing. So even though in the moment, and of course, Purim is a joyous holiday, it doesn't feel dark or like a bare tree, but we're not doing those connections. The Kabbalists teach us it's not about having a good time or how much fun can you have. Yes, being joyful is really the tool that we use to access that storage of energy that will serve us during the year. But we're connecting to that light for the rest of the year. It's not how high I can get on Purim. It's how high I can get determines how much light, and I don't mean high, I mean how elevated I can be, how joyful, how elated I can be on Purim is part of what connects me to that bank of light, which will serve me and shift. To me, it's a the potentiality for dramatic shift exists there, and that's what I'm most excited about.
Beautiful. So basically, in order to summarize, the reason why Purim is the only holiday that will remain out of all the tools and holidays that the Torah present, because that represents the true future self. So actually, in Purim, we have a portal to access our future self. And let's break it down to imperfections, mistakes that I'm doing today. We know in the portion of the week, there's a famous story of the sin of the golden calf, which representing the root of all mistakes, and each one of us participate in our own fallings from the consciousness of being with the light. So let's look at mistakes. Mistakes and how it's connected to Purim and how it's connected to the future self. So the mistake of being selfish, the mistake of being jealousy, the mistake of making a choice out of that stem from temptation, not from actually pure desire of the soul. The mistakes of caring too much what people think and as a result making the wrong choices. The mistake of not listening to our gut feeling and as a result suffering. So each one of us, let's think about one mistakes we've done. We're doing something consciously, unconsciously. We're not so proud of ourselves. We're not so proud of our past, let's say. So there's amazing saying that actually that a person that made mistake in its future place, in its future self is higher than the person who never made those mistakes. Because what is a mistake? In a practical level, I disconnected from the light. I attach myself to the ego. Yeah, in the world of process, I'm further away. But in the world of perfection, in the future place, every moment I'm further away, it's a space to reveal greater light. Remember, right now, I'm in a room filled with light. In this room, there are two forces, light and darkness, physical light and physical darkness. If not, I wouldn't be able to see the light. In my future me, all the moments of darkness, of no light, when I'm actually transforming and learning the lessons, they're actually that dark room that is filled with light. So actually in my future place, all my mistakes, all my negativities, all the pain that I went through, The reason it was perceived, like you said, Elisheva, as pain, as mistakes, as going down, because I don't see the final process of my perfection. But if I'm actually taking it to the future, which actually existing in right now, eventually we all destined to learn our lessons, and we all destined to learn actually how this mistake is opportunity for growth, and this mistake causing me to have a deeper connection with the light of the Creator, deeper connection. So imagine when you go into the process of mistakes, it feels horrible, uncertainty, less believing in yourself. I'm getting further away. But actually, in a real sense, the real dimension, the quantum reality, the flawless universe, the future that already happened now. Wow. It's not that I want to repeat this mistake. I'm not defined by my mistakes. Actually, I trust that in my true self, this mistakes is part of my process to unify, to connect, to love, to crave the light of the Creator. Because if you think about Purim, which is celebrating our future self, and in order to celebrate it, you actually need to express happiness and joy. You need to be in a mode of giving in an unlimited way. You need to feel worthy of the endless love of the Creator, which that's cause joy. The root cause of not feeling joy right now, I have uncertainty of the future, and I don't feel unworthy of joy right now because of this and this and this. In my future self, I'm unified with the light. With all my mistakes, which was part of the process to help me to appreciate the light, every mistake, every pain. And that's what is activated. So in one hand, in that day of Purim, we don't think about mistake. We're just accessing that state of joy and love. But we want to take this energy for the whole year. And while, of course, before the fact, I don't want to repeat negative mistakes, but after the fact, am I sentencing myself of unworthy of the light or not believing I can do it? Yeah, I believe in the Creator, but I don't believe in myself. Or I'm saying, you know what? Yeah, feel this pain for a little bit. It's okay. Also, pain is a space. Pain is the darkness that allows light. It's okay. But then shift the consciousness. It says about the sin of the golden calf, the main mistakes of the Israelite was not just the golden calf, which is whatever source of instant gratification, of not having patience. It's all about learning to handle delayed gratification. That's the secret for all of us in life, basically. So let's say we did not. So it says that the mistake of the Israelites, not that they couldn't resist. They needed another 6 hours and the world will be different. That's one mistake. That's okay. We're human. We fall short. We become blinded when we lose patience. The real mistake is because they fell into sadness and they decided, I'm not worthy of the light minute afterwards. And part of this weak energy, yeah, I want to be honest. I made a mistake. But making a mistake means I'm not worthy of the light. I'm not worthy of transformation. You know what? I made 30 times the same mistake. And I'm trying, but I'm falling again. That's what the force of the opponent, the force of doubt tells me. That's it. You're off. You're not part of this race called life. Settle for less. Think small. Just survive. I get it. There's endless light, but I'm not part of that. That's the real battle that we want to overcome. You know what? I made a mistake. Full responsibility. But the mistakes of part of who I am to connect with the endless light and my endless potential.
Yeah, what helps me when I have those moments is, and maybe this is part of what everyone can pay more attention to this week, is when you say the insensitive thing, when you let someone down, when you're impatient, all of those, I know I could have done better, like Eitan, you said, the things that we're not proud of, right? We all have those things that we've done and said, and those moments in our lives. When you look at them, they really don't, the critical thing you said, the insensitivity, it lasts 10 seconds, a minute, 10 minutes. And there's no question that we can do better. We can be more compassionate, more sensitive, more light-like. But in that 10 minutes of darkness, we can take responsibility and say, you know what, next time I will do better. I've done it 30 times already. Hopefully there won't be I'm going to make the effort that there won't be a 31st time. But the afterwards, the beating ourselves up, the feeling unworthy, the shutting down that takes place leads to hours of darkness, days, weeks of darkness. So I think part of the shift is realizing I get to choose. And to me, as a Pisces, this was one of the greatest revelations for me initially when I started studying is I get to choose how I feel about what just happened. I get to choose how it affects me. I get to determine how long I feel bad. And that was a revelation. I didn't realize it's up to me. I thought it's an automatic thing. And being able to decide, I shouldn't have if I knew better, if I could, I wouldn't say those things. But I said them, and I'm gonna learn for them, and I'm gonna grow, and I'm gonna become more sensitive, and therefore turn that 10 minutes of darkness into greater light every day of my life. In that sense, we don't have to wait for our future self to experience that growth and elevation. I can decide right now there's a shift. Right, starting now, I'm already different. And throughout this week, we're going to be given opportunities to become impatient, to become judgmental, to become harsh and critical, and all those things that, like you said, that voice inside, that ego, that opponent voice tells us, what's the difference? Forget about it. It's not important, or nobody cares anyway. We have all the reasons that we justify those thoughts and words and actions. Pay attention, because in those moments are our opportunity to make it good now. Not only will it be good, it'll be light at the end of the journey. I can decide that my mistake is a light, that my insensitivity is a moment of triumph if I want it to be that. And so looking at what wasn't, or how I felt short, or what could have been better, there's a moment for that. But it's much more powerful to use to take the lesson from the moment and use it as a catalyst for growth than a weight to keep you heavy. And the problem with that is always light attracts light. So if I'm focused on lack and what isn't and what didn't work, lack attracts lack. And if I'm focused on how blessed I am to realize what I can do differently last time, that blessing attracts more blessings. So I think it's a
Beautiful.
great week for all of us to open our perspective on how we interact even with those moments of failure, of impatience, of it might even be destruction. Any last words for our friends today?
In Purim, there's laughter, joy and laughter. And we're wearing masks. And really, it's really about how seriously or not we're taking our mistakes. When our mistakes, or negative feelings or negative experiences, when we take them seriously as if it's defined us, we cannot laugh at this. Actually, we're down and takes time until it wears off me. But in Purim, we realize all our mistakes, all our shortcomings, all our negative feelings are temporary, and they are not representing who we are. We actually, all year around, we're wearing a mask and we're thinking, that's who I am. I want people to see me this way. I can't stand I made a mistake. It defined me. But actually, in Purim, we're exposing the mask. We're laughing at the mask. we don't take ourselves seriously because we realize the true self is connected to the light. And that's where true joy comes from. So part of real joy is not take seriously your successes and your mistakes. Because the successes is a gift from the Creator, doesn't define you. What defines us, we are pure souls, crave to connect with the light of the Creator. And the mistakes don't define me. It's a temporary moment to learn a lessons, to be elevated. That's not who I am. And to be detached from that actually brings laughter and joy that we would love to invite into our life.
Amazing. I'm even looking forward more to to the week ahead. And I think for all of us to hold that in our mind at the forefront of our consciousness so that we'll recognize and take advantage of those opportunities. Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can follow us there for more content to support you to live everything we speak about in each episode. You can also go to weeklyenergyboost.com to search our archives, send us a message, and click the donate button to help make Weekly Energy Boost possible. But as always, the greatest help you can offer up is to share this episode. The more people that have this awareness and consciousness and guiding light, the better the world is going to be. And we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.